Enduring the Arctic's merciless environment is no small triumph. With temperatures crashing to 84 degrees and daylight reduced to a fleeting handful of hours, the Inuit cultivated remarkable skills to not only survive but thrive in a landscape where nature grants little forgiveness. Their adaptability wasn't just about scraping through the bitter winters. It was about mastering a world that offers scant reprieve. So what was their edge? While most would buckle under such relentless conditions, the Inuit drew on a profound connection to their surroundings, both land and water. For them, hunting, fishing, and food preservation transcended mere survival tactics. They were the heartbeat of a resilient way of life, passed down through countless generations. Their approach to ice fishing in particular was a stroke of pure ingenuity. Modern anglers lean on high-tech tools, electric drills, sonar, heated shelters, but the Inuit relied solely on seasoned observation and hard-earned know-how. Instead of boring holes at random across the ice, they zeroed in on natural fish hotspots, underwater ridges, deep hollows, or current-swept basins where aquatic life congregated. Choosing the right spot wasn't a guessing game. It was the critical divide between a bountiful catch and hours of fruitless labor. Without today's motorized augers, they turned to the toque, a robust ice chisel wielded with muscle and precision, capable of cutting through ice slabs as thick as 6 feet. Rather than hacking out wide gaps, they crafted narrow, deliberate holes, 8 to 10 inches across, just wide enough to haul fish through. This minimized heat loss in the piercing cold, kept the openings from icing over too fast, and let them fish with efficiency despite the Arctic's savage bite. What many overlook is that fish don't slow down in the Arctic's frigid depths. Unlike land mammals that hunker down in hibernation, fish maintain nearly 80% of their usual activity, even in icy waters, making them a reliable lifeline through the long winter months. The Inuit harnessed this fact with finesse, syncing their efforts to tidal rhythms and lunar phases to pinpoint the ripest fishing windows. A single, well-placed hole could sustain a family for a full week. Among their prized catches was the Arctic char, a fish both abundant and brimming with sustenance. At roughly 1,000 calories per pound, loaded with omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin D, it was a dietary cornerstone, especially during the sunless stretches when deficiencies loomed large. Their fishing setup was elegantly simple, yet devastatingly effective. Gorge hooks, painstakingly shaped from bone or ivory and fastened to sinew lines, didn't snag like modern barbed hooks. Instead, they twisted sideways in a fish's gullet, locking it in place with no chance of escape. Some Inuit elders even boasted these outperformed metal hooks, rust-proof, dependable, and if lost in the ice, no great loss. Ice fishing was never a lone endeavor. It was a communal dance. While some stood watch over the holes, braving the wind's howl, others hunkered in nearby shelters, rotating duties to check for catches and keep the operation humming. Knowledge of the best fishing grounds was a treasure, closely held and whispered from one generation to the next. In a climate where 84 degrees could strike without warning, locating fish wasn't just about filling bellies. It was a matter of life and death. Surviving the Arctic's brutal winters demanded more than skilled hunting and fishing. It called for shrewd preservation strategies. The Inuit turned their frozen world into a vast natural refrigerator, but that came with its own perils, chief among them, polar bears. These hulking predators, with noses sharp enough to detect a meal miles away, posed a constant threat to hard-won supplies. To outsmart them, the Inuit went beyond basic freezing, developing preservation methods as clever as they were vital. One standout was on-neck, fermented walrus meat. They'd bury hefty slabs in sealskin sacks, pile stones atop them, and let the meat age underground for months. To modern tastes, it might sound bizarre, even off-putting, but this technique delivered a steady stream of nutrient-dense food when fresh kills were out of reach. Beyond fermentation, they preserved fish eggs, dried wild berries, and perfected a meat-drying process. Even in sub-zero cold, they'd slice meat into thin ribbons, exposing it to the Arctic's dry, biting air to create jerky that could last for months. This wasn't just storage. It concentrated nutrients into a portable, energy-packed form, ideal for grueling journeys across the ice. Preservation was a family affair, a collective effort to dry, stash, and guard provisions. Storage sites had to be chosen with care, far from prowling bears yet reachable during blinding storms. An elder once chuckled that their ways were the original cold storage system. Only theirs came with the extra task of keeping polar bears at a distance, a challenge no modern freezer faces. Hunting, too, was indispensable. A single caribou kill could provide up to 150 pounds of meat, enough to feed a family for weeks. Tracking these vast herds through the Arctic's endless night required a prowess that modern gadgets couldn't touch. The Inuit became peerless. Trackers decoding the subtlest hints in the snow. Hoofprints betrayed an animal's age. Trampled lichen marked a trail, and they could even predict where caribou might dig for forage beneath the drifts. Anticipating behavior was the difference between a full larder and an empty stomach. Their hunting wasn't limited to big game. Arctic foxes, nocturnal and crafty, were snared with traps baited with frozen seal meat along well-worn paths. A smartly laid trapline of 20 to 30 could yield a fox every fifth try, delivering fur and meat with little effort. Even ptarmigan, small birds that burrowed into snowdrifts for warmth, were fair game. The Inuit spotted their tiny breathing holes, near invisible in a blizzard, and used snares or nets to pluck them out. Spotting a white bird in a whiteout was no small feat, but their trained eyes made it look routine. Their tools were marvels of function and resilience. The kamutik sled, fashioned from driftwood, animal bones, and sinew lashings, skimmed over jagged ice, light enough to carry yet sturdy enough to haul heavy loads. Its flexible design meant quick fixes on the go, no metal to snap in the cold. Winter seal hunting pushed their skills further. Seals offered meat, blubber for fuel, and waterproof skins for clothing and shelter. But catching them demanded patience, precision, and a deep grasp of their ways. Finding a seal's breathing hole in thick ice was a test of subtlety. Hunters scanned for faint snow mounds, hairline cracks, or the barest wisp of warm air rising into the frigid void. Seal hunts were high-reward gambles. A ringed seal could yield 100 pounds of meat and 50 pounds of blubber, but spotting their dinner plate-sized holes was grueling. Hunters stood motionless for 3 to 4 hours, or longer, in numbing cold, placing a strip of polar bear fur near the hole. A seal's breath would stir it, giving a fleeting window to thrust a harpoon. These weapons, called unaak, featured detachable heads tethered to lines that lodged under the seal's skin, while the wooden shaft bobbed free, marking the catch. Seal meat packed 1,200 calories per pound, blubber a whopping 4,000, vital when the body burned 6,000 daily just to fend off the chill. The liver, rich in vitamin C, warded off scurvy in the dark months. Nothing was squandered. Bone marrow, at 84% fat, was a powerhouse of calories and nutrients like collagen and iron. Using stone tools, they split frozen bones with surgical accuracy, harvesting solid marrow chunks. An elder dubbed it nature's popsicle, though it's not hitting ice cream stands anytime soon. Food caches in deep snow preserved marrow for months, marked as lifelines when storms pinned them indoors. Yet survival wasn't a solo act. It thrived on sharing. The Ningatuk system distributed food by need and contribution, not greed. A 1,000-pound walrus was carved up. Elders took choice cuts for their wisdom. Struggling families got more, adept hunters less. A young hunter's first kill went entirely to others, cementing ties over pride, sharing slashed waist and buffered lean times. As an elder put it, in cities, cash buys food. Here, sharing does. Their tools matched the Arctic's fury. Ulu, knives of slate or metal-skinned seals in carved snow. Harpoons disassembled for travel. Kamutiks flexed without fracturing. Bows, bolstered with bone and sinew, endured the freeze. But their true mastery was reading nature. Cloud drifts, wind shifts, animal quirks. Predicting weather and prey with over 50 snow terms like Mat Rudy for building or Panato for herding. In blackness, they felt snowflakes and heard the air to hunt. The Inuit didn't merely weather 84 degrees, they owned it. Through land-rooted insight, resourcefulness, and unity, they turned a ruthless frontier into home. Hunting in gloom, preserving with cunning, crafting tough tools, and sharing all, they thrived where others would fade. Proof of centuries